Flutterwave, Nigerian payments business, has raised $250 million, giving it a $3 billion valuation and making it Africa's most valuable startup as international investors gamble on the continent's prospects. As investors strive to tap into a severely untapped market of 200 million Nigerians, tens of millions of whom lack bank accounts, Flutterwave has been at the forefront of a collection of startups that have made Lagos the hottest ecosystem in Africa. The Lagos-based company, founded in 2016, is now the biggest payment startup on the continent. It's processed 200 million transactions worth more than $16 billion in 34 African countries. CEO Mr. Agbola said that Flutterwave would use the funds to expand beyond Africa to other emerging markets, including those in Latin America, to economies linked to the continent, such as the US, UK, United Arab Emirates, and Canada. Joining us to discuss further is Longi Dafur, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Longi, good morning. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What do you make of the latest Flutterwave raise and the valuation?
Yeah, definitely. Flutterwave news is actually quite exciting, to be honest with you. Like you rightfully said, the company is now valued as the most, should I say, the largest and most valuable startup on the African continent, which is quite a big deal, considering that 6 years ago, we had no unicorns at all in Africa. And now here we are with about 7 or 8 of these unicorns. So it's quite exciting, to say the least.
What do you make of as far as this figure, this CB Insights data on the unicorns hitting, I think, what is it now, 1,000 of them? And as far as what's been responsible for that, what would you attribute it to?
Yeah, so definitely I'd say there's been about 2 key factors that have played into the recent rise or surge in unicorns that we've been seeing within the recent years. The first is, of course, the large amount of capital. So up to about this point, we've been enjoying a typically low interest rate environment. And what this has done is it's allowed investors to play around with money through obscene amounts of money, if you will, at projects that they believe will be the next big thing, the future of humanity, shall I say, as we may call it.
Yeah.
So because of this excess capital, we see a lot of ideas that might not have, shall I say, got in the wind of day or so, getting the funds they need to push and innovate and then create these products that give excessive amounts of value to consumers in rural areas that might not have been reached by traditional systems.
And I think the concentration of, as far as the categories, rather, I think Fintech is leading the way, and then I think there's e-commerce, and then a couple other categories. What do you make of that's concentration?
Yeah, Fintech, especially in Africa, it's quite big, to be honest with you. So like we rightfully said, traditional financial systems have not typically been able to meet the needs of consumers, at least in today's day and age, as they have in the past coming years. And these Fintechs are really tapping into this market and, shall I say, doing things in a new sort of disruptive and innovative way to really capture and bring sort of, shall I say, a new class of value for these consumers. And it's really going a long way. Like we've actually seen Fintechs, like you said, Flutterwave has raised $250 million, now valuing it at $3 billion. So it's the Fintech sector is really quite the next big thing, to be honest with you.
The geographies, I think the United States, in that report, 51% of unicorns housed there. China was, I think, 17 or so percent. India, 6%. Well, shouldn't really be much of a surprise. Okay, yeah, there's our chart right there. So USA, 51%, China, 17. As far as, this really isn't a surprise, right?
Yeah, it's not a surprise. So the reason for that is basically because these countries have actually created perfect systems, not necessarily perfect, but systems that can incubate these startups. So Silicon Valley in the US, Shenzhen in China, and Bangalore in India are just some examples of these ecosystems that really go a long way in propping up these startups.
The trend normally is to do an initial public offering, right?
Yeah.
And then you raise some more capital that way. But we've seen some of these companies tend to stay private longer. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, like the most valuable startups, for instance, now are ByteDance and SpaceX with values of over $100 billion are still private. And this is really quite, shall I say, interesting. And I think the main reason for that is, why do companies typically go for IPOs? It's because they want to raise capital. And here we're seeing that these companies are able to raise capital without needing to go to public markets. So they can typically raise as much capital as they want from private markets, private investors, without needing to go through the extra route of regulatory scrutiny and sort of opening up their companies to things that they might not have full control over. So it's sort of a thing about control. So they have more control keeping it public still raising the amount of funds that they need to do business.
Exactly. Let's put up that chart again. I think we just saw it was, you mentioned ByteDance, which of course is Chinese. SpaceX, that's the Elon Musk company.
Yeah.
Stripe, the payments company. Klarna, I think they're Swedish e-commerce. And then, of course, Epic Games. It's very, very interesting stuff there. Yeah. What's been going on with these? You think we'll see more? We'll hear more of this? What this Flutterwave news, along with other startups and big raises in 2022?
Yeah. So the thing is, it's actually quite a mixed bag. So as we know, inflation has been on the rise.
Yes.
What inflation does, it makes central banks really angsty. So we've already seen banks raising interest rates, and when rates go up, we typically see a flight of capital from emerging markets to more structured markets like the US, maybe US Treasury bonds and so on. So it's sort of a risk of whether this trend might still continue into 2022, but we hope. Yeah.
Great stuff. Let's talk about the internet subscribers. As far as the increase that you've seen, there was a whole matter with the NIN numbers, and I think that kind of rejigged figures late. But what do you make of these latest figures from the Bureau of Statistics? There we are. I think, 10% growth, 3 million Q4 2021 from Q3, so 10% quarter-on-quarter growth. Yeah, what do you make of it?
Yeah, so like you've just mentioned, the NCC stopped banned the sale of NINs early last year. So what that really does, it sort of affected like we said, the sale of SIMs, and really affected the growth in internet subscribers across the country. Led to about a 3% decline or so. About 4.7 million internet users were lost. But then towards the end of the year, Q4, we saw a huge rise, like you've just said, an increase of about 10%. So it's really quite exciting. And I think the reason for this boils down to the fact that internet it's so imbued in our lives. We can't go without it. We've seen a lot of we've seen Nigeria's internet penetration rise. Beginning of last year, it was about 50%. And now with this 154 million internet subscribers, and Nigeria's population is about 206 million, that's now an internet penetration of about 75%, a huge gain from what we saw at 2020. So I do believe this trend is more than likely going to continue. It also connects to what we said about the fintechs and the disruptions.
Is that a pun? It connects. I like that. I don't know if you intended that, but that was good. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, and the fintechs and the disruptions that they've been having. So bringing in new individuals into the, into the modern financial system, people that might have been unbanked. So it's really quite exciting, and we'll more than likely see this trend continue.
Yeah, I think we have figures with the telcos that are behind this top four. I don't know what else there is to say about this, but this definitely has to benefit them, right? Yeah. So there's MTN 58.8 million, Glo second place, Airtel third place, and Nine Mobile fourth. But yeah, they have to be the main beneficiaries of this growth.
You could essentially say that they're printing money at this point, to be honest with you. MTN's data revenue grew about 55% last year, and I think it really shows where Nigeria is going in terms of internet and data usage. In our 2018, MTN's data revenue was about 160 billion, and its voice revenue was about 160 billion, and its voice revenue was about 670 billion. Now, end of 2021, data revenue has shot up to about 516 billion.
Massive.
And voice revenue has only gone up about 22%. So it's a 222% growth in data revenue versus a 22% growth in voice revenue. So it really shows where the future is heading in terms of data and internet usage.
Right. Finally, the states. I think Lagos State is going to get any competition here as far as other states in the, because I think Lagos State accounted for about 12% I think of the total subscribers. Kano second place, Ogun, Oyo, and the FCT. I mean, if you want this to work out, you got to have other states when it spreads out, right? Briefly, if you can.
Yeah, so internet usage did go up in all 36 states, but then Lagos is Nigeria's cosmopolitan hub. I do not foresee any state beating Lagos, at least in the near term, because there's just such a lot of business, such a lot of activity concentrated in Lagos, and this has spillover effects for the rest of the country. So I do believe we'll see data usage rising in Lagos specifically.
Longi Dafur, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.